Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are doing a spotlight today on Uno for the Steam PC. So it's taking a while to load, sorry I'm pausing there for a second. This game came out on Steam in 2016, 10 years after it came out, basically for free if you got the Xbox Live version of the Xbox 360. It was also followed up by a game called Uno Rush, which I think is by far more entertaining than playing Uno by default, which seems to have never been ported to anything else. And while Uno itself has been ported over and over again over the years, it really took a really long time to come out for PC for no good reason. It is requiring Uplay, which nobody likes Uplay, so you're in a weird position there. Even if you get the game itself free, they're pushing for DLC content, which we have here, these Frosty characters. It's the same gameplay for this theme. I believe there might be some slightly different cards for some of the other DLC, but you are paying about $10 extra at that point. Uno is kind of notorious also for being the Xbox Live 360 game that automatically would just turn on people's cameras if you had a camera plugged into your 360, and you would randomly see people who would not realize that was happening, and you'd see them sitting on their sofas doing all sorts of things. Let's look at the settings here. I don't think there's really anything here to really change too much. We might try the female voice, standard 1080p. Let's adjust the chat settings because I don't want any of that on, and it's all off by default. Thank goodness for that. We have tutorials and credits, which let's see what form or factor that shows up here. Let's see. Rulebook seems to be like just a simple text thing. If you don't know how to play Uno, it's pretty simple. You either play a card that is the same color or the same number, or is a special card that is a wild card. Don't think that there's anything else too special there. Some rules people probably don't know is that you can challenge if somebody plays a draw 4 or a wild draw 4. A lot of people play by house rules that you can't challenge there because that is hard for young kids, and let's face it, Uno is really targeted towards young kids. Winning the round earns you points from the other player's hands, and then at that point you're playing to 500 points. Most people probably don't play by that either in house rules, because then you are playing a lot of Uno. There are action cards, skip, which are worth 20 points, draw 2, reverse, which are worth 20 points also, and then wild and wild draw 4, both being worth 50 points. Again, most people don't play by those rules, so that would be something. Here's a house rule. Whenever a card is played, if you hold an identical card, you may play it out of turn. I've never heard of that. That would just tear up your cards really fast. I think Uno in particular is really a game designed to encourage people to tear up their cards more than anything else. Like, it really does seem like it probably is just screwing around with a lot of chances in which you would bend or tear the cards more than, say, poker or, well, yeah, I imagine war and other games where you are slapping down cards are pretty bad too. Here's a 7-0 Playing a 7 allows you to swap hands with another player. Playing a 0 forces all players to take their hand and pass it down the order of play, which would be either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on whether you've played a reverse or not. You get 2 screens to show that off. Stacking. Draw 2, or while draw 4 is played, you may play the same type of card to add the penalty and pass it down to the next player. Now that seems like that is a particularly cutthroat house rule. I don't think I would ever want to play against that, because that does run the risk of somebody playing a whole series of those and making one player draw a significantly large amount of cards. When draw 2 and while draw 4 is played, you may play the same type to add that penalty. Yep, so they're just showing the same thing twice. So they don't have like a lot of house rules here, and I'm not seeing Uno Rush being integrated into Uno itself, which it really should have been. Let's see if the Ubisoft Cloud pops up with the thing enabled. The answer to that is no. So then we have at the top right corner an X button, which are some news. Welcome aboard. Says, let's see. All new Rabbids theme. Winter theme. The winter theme came out in 2017. Nothing there. Let's see what the left bump does. Shows our status. Gives you kind of a reason to come back. And then right bump is not doing anything, so that probably is a pop-up for something else. So let's just jump into a standard game. And let's just play the tutorial. Now, of course, I know how to play this, but let's just try it. Now, one of the nice things about Uno in particular is that it is using a Xbox controller. So you would have a lot more movement happening with your wrist if you were using a mouse or keyboard here. Maybe there would be some reason reason why you would specifically want to have a, let's see, don't want to challenge? Yeah, let's challenge. And we were right, so now he has to draw 4. Because you're playing against bots, this is a pretty pretty slow game compared to Uno Rush. You have to call Uno or you'll get challenged. And that's where the male voice comes in. And then you hit Y to challenge anybody else that doesn't call Uno. So there we go through the tutorial. We scored some points, about 70 it looks like. Well, no, it gave us 52 points, okay. So, doesn't seem like any of that counted towards anything though. So, no moving up to a level by grinding through the tutorial at least. You can see there's a decent lack of social features that you would have. Well, this was probably one of the first very social games to come out when early in the 360 launch and the beginning of more social gaming. There's really no loot boxes here. There's no daily quests. There's really no reason why you would come back and play this more than you really wanted to play Uno. It's just kind of nice to have, although in all fairness, the argument might be made that there's probably a free version of Uno, and I'm sure Uno goes by some other name. Let's try this. There's 4 active theme cards with the rabbits deck, and there's nothing different here, so let's try this to start with. Let's see, so if I want to play Jump In, you have to spend 20 Ubisoft points. That's insane. And notice my left bump is not doing that automatically. Thank goodness they don't allow that. But I mean, the Ubisoft Club and Uplay, which it's all the same, is pretty garbage for things like that, and their rewards really were just added to try to be a competitor to the Steam, and they really aren't. And sometimes they will nicely allow you to they will allow you to buy games on Steam, but you still end up using the Uplay system anyways, so it's a nightmare. And then some, but there definitely are games on Uplay that I don't believe are available for purchase on Steam. But then EA, I believe, or yeah, I think EA has been really bad about not allowing anything on Steam. So you can see this winter theme's not much, it's just a slight improvement, and they didn't really hold on to that concept. It's not like this came out in 2016 and on Steam they got a new theme every 6 months for 2 or 3 years or anything like that. There's like 3 themes when there could have been certainly a lot more. Let's see. So I have to remember the rules with the 0s and 7s. And the 0s and 7s are pretty much just being picked up out of nowhere, as there's really not a reason. Now, Uno Rush, I think in fairness, because I do want to mention that, is a much better game, in my opinion. And you would be able to use the left and right bump to order your cards. And if your cards are in the right order, and let's say that a green 3 occurred on the next time it's my turn, then this green 3 would automatically play, then this, then this, then this, then this, and then this would stop the chain. But if I put this over where that is, then it would continue that chain. And Uno Rush does have like a really nice experience where it speeds up the process quite a bit, but then it does kind of run a problem. Gets kind of weird because you have to rather quickly be pounding on a button to call Uno before somebody challenges you on it. Otherwise you'll get sniped and have to draw. Alright, let's go with yellow. Now, if you were playing high level Uno, you'd probably try to get an idea or an understanding of what's in everyone's hands, but it's not really super necessary. You just play. Uno, for most part, is just a mindless experience. And see, I'm just drawing a card, and it's automatically playing the card if I draw the card, which that sometimes is not the way things go. So ideally, you'd want to play a 7. You can see he's drawing a lot of cards because he's not apparently got any reds, or the AI is just super broken. So it'd be crazy if they play themselves. Alright, so here you reverse into him because I know what cards he has. I think this is a problem because I think that's gonna be the other guy winning. Well, I guess not. Then you have to draw again. You can see it's automatically drawing. It really is a shame Uno Rush is not embedded in this or available separately. It really sucks that even on sale getting this game, I probably double paid for it. Then you run into the fact that your friends list would have to be friends on Uplay. So you would have to you have to make a full you have to make a full effort to that sucks. We got like 2 people with Unos. And so there we got an action completed on the Ubisoft Club. And it's just gonna throw you into another match. So yeah, you'd have to have your friends online on a separate system, have a Uplay account to play the game at all, and you're getting little bits of points that with the Ubisoft Club and the Uplay things, but they're pointless add-ons. I guess they are what Ubisoft Uplay thought were gonna be the daily motivators, but they're not daily quests. There's like no gold here, and I don't know how you could really have gold or daily quests for Uno short of just having levels that just ever increased for no reason, because Uplay is clearly too cheap to bother to give away free games, which they probably could do. So we have to complete 50% of the classic missions. Then we can unlock social. Then we can unlock this. Can we? You can't even see what the action section is. So let's just see what it wants us to do. Successfully play 20 wild, draw 4 cards, win first round of a match 5 times, win 15 classic matches. So 15 games minimum, win all rounds in 15 matches. That seems crazy. And that's talking about playing entire matches up to 500, not just one game. So you really gotta like Uno. Meanwhile, you really are going to have a significant argument here against playing it on Steam and on PC. But this is one of those games that I would say is more casual. I guess is the right word for it. Like, let's see if we can hear the female voice. Say Uno once. Alright. So if you are more of a casual player, then yeah, this is something I could see sitting down once in a while, even once a day, and just playing 1 or 2 games. So let's see what the Raving Rabbits does to really change it, because I don't think it does much. And Ubisoft has plenty of games, so there really is no argument. This one's going to be playing with stacking. There really is no argument that they couldn't have just promoted Assassin's Creed and other games here, but the only thing they've promoted is Rabbids, which is child-friendly, I suppose, and I suppose as long as you've got the chat settings turned off, this is totally a child-friendly experience, mostly. Like, I mean, you may have some cutthroat people playing against you, but that's about it. And Ubisoft has its, let's see, defend yourself from a draw 4, and when played on your turn, it acts as a wild. Choose a new color. There's apparently several little pop-up things that will pop up for, I think, no real reason. I don't know what triggered that. Yeah, you can see there's a problem. I think it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm playing this on a TV that's 10 feet away. I can see these card numbers fairly well, but I don't know what's going on, what triggered that at all. Seems like the game just is doing random things. So this rabbit decided to make people move and play faster. And yeah. So while I can tell these cards pretty well, when you get a huge stack like this, there is, I think, some stuff to complain about. Certainly, and there is I would argue probably not a great reason why you would want to play with these rabbit cards the way they look. Notice also that I don't believe you can just like change the settings. Like, we can't just use the themed cards and play a regular game, it looks like, without some work. Probably could pull that off, but it is gonna be difficult. You'd have to get to a little bit of memorization also that you would eventually learn about using the left analog stick or the D-pad to know what color means what. But yeah, this is mostly just a laid-back experience, and it is Uno. Let's see. And you can't play any of these others, and it makes sounds if you don't. If you try. Man, does this feel slow compared to Uno Rush. But for what only could be called a game collection, which is my Steam library, like having Uno and having it available to you in a digital form fairly easily in all ways is not a terrible thing. But there are way too many caveats here too. Like, and it does eventually boil down to maybe you'd just be better if you played Tabletop Simulator. That this is the problem that happens with any kind of board game or card game on Steam, is that there is Tabletop Simulator out there, and there is a decent chance that the Tabletop Simulator itself would be the better version of a game like this. Or a mobile version of this on your phone would make more sense. And you could probably do a Worlds with Friends type game also. And it's worth mentioning that while I am getting Uplay points, I'll probably get, if I do them all, about 200, and then they'll want me to spend about 175 of those to unlock content, which I didn't even bother to check on this. This really isn't a living card game, or a trading card game, or a collectible card game, so it fails completely in comparison to something like Magic the Gathering Arena, which I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, at least for a while, at least for a year. I'm gonna stream that. Or Hearthstone, which I streamed nearly 1,500 episodes of. Both of those have way more reasons why you would come back to it every single day, and much more of a motivating factor. Although in all fairness, both of those games also kind of demand more of your time. That was stupid. I should have gotten that team. I would say most of the collectible card games demand way too much of your time, and I would not stream them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday if it weren't for the fact that there were daily quests that stack up. I would much prefer to stream only once a week, and play them only once a week. And Magic Arena, I think in all fairness, is even worse because, well, worse than Hearthstone, because it gives you more generous rewards for winning the game up to 15 times every single day. So the games in Magic Arena, for instance, take about 40 minutes to play. So you could easily spend half a day just playing Magic Arena. But if I'm talking about other card games, you can see I've pretty much already run out of things to say about this. This would just be a laid-back game that I'll play when I feel like I've got nothing better to do, which is not very frequent, frankly, because I have most recently been rather lackadaisical, to use a $5 word. So what does the bomb do? I guess it means if you have to draw, you so the bomb makes him draw 4. But I really haven't seen those special cards, or they haven't really shown up so much. In a weird way, I don't think Uno in the real world has tried to have these extra themes. The most recent thing I saw Hasbro do is making board games with flimsy, just printed paper boards and folded up into really small stocking stuffer packages for Christmas, and I thought that was a pretty good move, considering how most of these things are just most of these board games and such are all owned by Hasbro, which ironically now owns Magic the Gathering too, to the point where you are just... So I got no points for that. And then next match would start in a few seconds. And you totally don't need actual Uno cards to play Uno, really. You just set a few cards special, maybe mix 2 decks together. Let's try one online experience and just see what happens. Well, let's look at the creative match first. Let's see. So you could create a match and then what? Is there a way to spread the cards? Okay. So, coming through is 5 cards are randomly distributed to your opponents, followed by 5 more cards that are randomly distributed to all players. So you could just disable that. Explosive results, the next player to draw a card for any reason must draw an additional 3 cards, we saw that. Hurry up, for the next few turns all players must finish their turn in 3 seconds or draw a card and skip. And then Wild Blue Yonder, defend yourself from a draw 2 or draw 4. When played on your turn, it acts as a wild. Choose an active color. So you turn off all of those, and then at that point you could play with these cards. And then you could get rid of rules that you don't like. No bluffing. Draw the match can be turned off. Force play. Some of these I don't think were really explained super well in the tutorial. And you can't even pick... Oh, here's the winter theme. Winter theme just... They didn't even bother to really animate. Like, look here. Winter theme, background different. Regular Uno, background different. So if you're doing this really fast, it doesn't even swap fast enough for you to see the difference. I thought I was going between this and this, just in circles. Unable to connect. So, let me just double check and make sure that this isn't a Windows firewall issue. Just to give it a fair shake here. Let's see. No. Seems like not so. I'm not seeing a Windows firewall blocking. I do kind of run high security, but it is never in any way really affected. It really has never affected my ability to play online. Let's see if we can create a match then. Well, let's look at the leaderboards. So, inevitably in cheaters, you have, well, inevitably in any game, you have cheaters at the top of the list. So we have global scores that are ridiculously high. I'm not seeing how you scroll down here. So, why is there a scroll bar when none of the buttons seem to work that way? Oh, you go to the right with the left stick. So one has to assume when these are 2 digits higher, they're cheating. This probably cheating too. This person's probably cheating too. You can see there's some major jumps. I'd imagine the 30,000s might be legitimate people, but even by the top 50 or so, you are into the less than 100,000 scores by the top 60 or so. I guess the question I'd like to see is weekly. Weekly scores. It seems to imply that there are people playing. So let's see, online play. Try again. Unable to connect. So let's see if we can create a match. Because it's not even trying very hard. So yeah, let's just... Can't process next step. Your NAT type is strict, so you cannot host an online online match. Please check your NAT settings and try again. Interesting. Network problems. Which I don't believe my NAT type is strict. Let's see what the error message is again here. Strict NAT typing is when you basically, it's network address translation, I believe is what that stands for. Not really something that I'm doing anything with as far as I know. And there's like no settings network wise, is there? Like that probably is a, we didn't even get to hear the female voice. Let's see what you can do with the controller. Not much. There's keyboard shortcuts, vibration enabled. Yep, doesn't look like you can change anything there. So, developed by Ubisoft Chengdu, so Chinese firm of the major conglomerate of Ubisoft that, when this was coming out, would have been in the height or the beginnings at least of the hostile takeover attempt by, I believe, Viacom or Vivendi, I never get the right name there, which went on for an extremely long amount of time. Now I guess Mattel owns Uno, which maybe Hasbro doesn't own Mattel, but it is kind of shocking that they haven't bothered to license it out again to another company 10 years later. Well, I'm sure there would be somebody willing to make a Uno game and put it on cell phones. I'm sure if you took this to Warner Brothers, they would love to put their Warner Brother properties on it. If you took this to Nintendo would love to put all their characters on it. And I'm sure there are Uno decks out there that in which Mattel has licensed other properties, so it would be fairly easy to go the other direction and have someone license their property. In a weird way, I think you run into this with almost every standard traditional board game that is highly recognizable amongst kids. I know the Hasbro game collections, Monopoly, Clue, things like that, all of them seem to have problems or be oddly limited on what platforms they are available for. There is one thing that has changed now since a lot of these games have come out and been made, and that one thing is it's a little weird that they're not even advertising the other DLC, because there's clearly a Just Dance DLC that there is to the left of that half of the image. That one thing is that Toys R Us, the biggest toy store in the United States, has gone out of business. So it's fewer and fewer places that exist where you could buy a physical toy, a physical board game. There's really no reason why these things should be physical for most cases. They've been selling bits of cardboard for $10, $20 when really it probably cost them less than $2 to make for decades now, and probably should stop happening. I think there may even at some point, 10 or 20 years down the line, be laws put in place to say, look, a lot of these toys, like collectible card games, magic cards, things like that, a lot of them are just using too much paper, too much glue, too much ink. It's not a good recycling or use of resources, and it's not good for recycling. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were severe limitations on like excessive plastic products, excessive toys, just limitations on all physical goods to keep things down to a minimal and reasonable. And I think toys would probably be on the front lines of things that would get restricted or just outright banned before anything else. And people wouldn't really complain too much, because in the end you could always play these games digitally as long as there is a good digital version. I would say this is a mediocre digital version. It clearly has some network problems. It clearly has no polish on it. No more work has been put on it in several years. If this came out in 2016 on Steam, as it says it does, which those dates are sometimes questionable, that means it's only been 3, maybe 4 years, about 4 years between when it was released and when I'm recording this spotlight, and it doesn't feel like 4 years of consistent support and community building and interest has been put into this. This really is a game that needs some kind of motivating factor to make you want to come back. And frankly, integration to a mobile version would be really nice too. I could easily see myself pitching a better Uno where there was a cell phone version and there was points and there was a reason to come back, and if you played say 100 hours of Uno, you would get enough points to get a free Uplay game. There's plenty of old Uplay games they could give away with no problem. And in a funny way, this is also another example of how Uplay has started to kind of die as a company in my mind, because all their games are getting older and older, and they're not really releasing a lot of new games. Just your occasional new Assassin's Creed every couple years, maybe 2 or 3 other games, but that's kind of it. Where at one point Uplay was Ubisoft was putting out a lot more games and a lot more varieties of games. Well, that's going to be it for the spotlight. There's really nothing more to show and nothing more to do. If you like Uno, if you have to play it on PC, this is here. You can get it through Steam, but you still have to go through Uplay. Maybe if you mess with your networking settings, you can play it online. Otherwise, you're going to be severely limited to just playing it on the single player modes. I wouldn't be surprised if the online support has just been shut down and it just has not been mentioned. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.